Right. Okay. Ta-da. Hello and welcome to the inaugural Monday episode of the Neurodiversity Media Network. Today, I am with the fabulous Biba Atta. We are talking about personal evolution. What's it mean? What's it look like? How you do it? I'm really looking forward to this show, y'all, because I feel like we talk around spiritual topics instead of doing the actual work. And so we are going to be talking about affirmations in this series. Today, we are talking about health and wellness affirmations. And I have to say, Biba, I put on my work dress this morning, and it was a little tight. And it is January. And many of the things that I would attempt to do for myself require better weather. And what I realize is that I have a lot of excuses about this. I have a lot of excuses about this because I have a bad fucking attitude about taking care of my body. I resent it deeply. I dislike having to care for the meat sack in ways that nourish and sustain me.
Okay.
And this is a personal problem. And I suspect it's a problem a lot of my audience deals with, to be perfectly honest. Because health and wellness is a privilege in our society, right? And I think that's where I want to start.
Okay.
So, how do we reconcile taking care of our bodies when we don't always have the resources to do so?
Such a great question. Thank you again for having me. I'm like, where to start? How do you reconcile taking care of your health, your body, when you don't have the resources to start? The resources really is here. This is where you start. This is free. This is vast. It's complex. It is all those things. So before you go out and think that you got to spend hundreds of dollars on a treadmill or $1,000 on a fucking Peloton, or some ungodly amount for some gym membership and all of the things.
Oh my God, you're just identifying all of my tabs right now, Biba. Thank you.
No Planet Fitness. No, I'm just kidding. It's good, but it all starts here. And I know that this is that time of year where everyone's like, New Year's resolutions. We got to do all the things. We want to lose weight. We want to quit smoking. We want to be more healthy. We got to get out there. We have to do these things. Like, they don't work for that very reason. Like, because it's not really, you're not aligned with those things. You're not aligned with that place of wanting to do all of this stuff. Like, there's some things up here to do to get you to naturally say, oh, well, I'm sorry, Shantae, I didn't mean to come for your Peloton, girl. But you're not naturally aligned there. So you have to do some things sometimes to get you to the place where it's going to feel natural. It's not going to feel like an uphill battle. It's not going to feel like, you are really dragging yourself to a finish line that you're not really believing in. Like, you're aligned with this ideal that I want to drink a little bit more water. I'm not at the point where I want to be drinking 8 glasses of water. I fucking hate water. But I can have a small glass. We'll start small. And I can start to develop this habit. I don't necessarily want to be running and doing sprints. Yes, it's great for my heart. Yes, it's amazing for my body. But sprinting is not my get down. But I can walk around the block. And that's going to be okay. I can accept that. That's a way for me to take care of myself in that way. But it starts here, really. And that's free.
So,
I see you, Marisa. I love water and I'm still not drinking it. I like water too, and I'm not drinking it as much either. But
even when I have a sticker in my planner that I can color in the dots, which is about the only way that these sorts of things work for me, is when I retreat to my youngest, most childlike self and give myself stickers. It still doesn't always happen. So I am thinking my way to what?
you're thinking your way to embracing different activities, embracing a different mindset. You're thinking your way to connecting more with your body, with your overall health and wellness. I think that a lot of us are not connected with our bodies. And so it feels like there is some sort of battle that happens when you're like, look, you're going to lose this goddamn weight. You're going to get on this treadmill. You're going to do this Peloton today. And it's not necessarily the right way to connect. And so when you're thinking and when you're more present, when you're breathing, you're more grounded, it's like, what does my body really need from me? Do I really need to be doing these sprints? Everybody's like, nah, all I need you to do is walk me around the block. We good. All I need to do for you to do is to drink 3 glasses of water. You don't need to do this 8. All I really need for you to do is get this 8 hours of sleep in. Be a little bit better about making sure that you're sleeping. All I really need for is more magnesium. So you can take a couple of tablets for that. So when you get to know yourself, when you're thinking, when you're more present and you're more connected, your body is going to tell you what you need to do. And it's not always going to be what they tell you to do. You gotta be working out 5 days a week. Everybody's sedentary and fat, and you're not doing la 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 la. And then the battle ensues. And then you feel bad when you're not doing those things, but it may not be that you need to do all of that stuff.
Okay, I don't need to do all that stuff.
Don't need to do all that stuff.
Tabs are closed.
Close
Great.
the tabs.
What do I need to do?
What you need to do is really, again, get connected with you. What feels good to you? What do you enjoy doing? Reframe your idea about movement versus exercise. Like that's something that has helped me a lot. And movement is exercise. If I think of it as I am going to exercise, I automatically go to, oh, for God's sake, the whole inner child temper tantrum just starts to happen. And then I start rebelling against exercising. But when I say I'm going out to move my body or I'm going out into nature to do this walk and I set different intentions around that walk, I don't think of it as exercise. And so that's been able to help me to do it for the last like 2.5 years. I walk every day except Saturday. I've been walking every day Sunday for the last 7 years. I don't think of it as exercise. I think of it as a spiritual practice. I think of it as a ritual. I set intentions for it. So it's easier for me to do, to get out there in 30-degree weather and be trekking around neighborhoods or wherever I'm walking at, because it's not about you're getting exercise. It is a way that I connect with myself. I connect with my spirit guides, ancestors, nature, God, whatever you want to call it, set intentions, feel into the practice, pay attention to the whole thing. So that's how I frame it. So going out there doesn't feel so hard.
But it's cold, Biba.
It is. But you know what? It's better than hot for me because you can layer up.
Hey, that's for sure.
I can't get so naked out there without an indecent exposure charge. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I can put on the hat and the gloves and the scarf and layers and big coat, all that stuff. But when it's hot.
I had a Facebook friend who wrote completely earnestly about his practice of going and sitting naked in snowbanks for reflective thought, and I went, no, that's a little far. That's a little far for me. I could not Wim Hof my way into better anything. Like that.
Nothing about that looks sexy. Like that doesn't look good. I mean, I recognize that what it does for the body and the nervous system and all that, but I can't do that. I can't do that. My body doesn't want me to do that, actually. It's not just what I can't do. My body's like, we don't need that. We don't need that.
So let's go a little bit in the other direction.
Okay.
I will rabbit hole back somehow, I'm sure. I read this amazing thread on Reddit this morning about the waypoints on Mount Everest that are frozen dead bodies. Climbing Everest is such an ordeal, and so many people have died on this journey.
Yeah.
That people use specific bodies as points along the journey. I I wish I didn't know this, but I went down this rabbit hole, and now the rest of you have to be subjected to this knowledge as well.
Holding us hostage. We'll see how you do, Briar.
But the point here is that you can go too far.
Yeah.
I get in principle why one would want to climb Everest, right? Mm-hmm. The ability to say that you had done something like that is incredible. Mm-hmm. The risks along the way are absolutely worthwhile if that is the type of adventure that you value. Mm-hmm. And I think that the lesson here is that you can, I don't know, affirm your way too much, maybe? Where's the balance?
Oh, wow. Such a great question. Where's the balance? I don't know that there needs to be one, honestly. I think that I don't think that we really know all that we're truly capable of as human beings. Like there's studies that are going on that they're still trying to understand all that we can do with our brains, with our minds, with our bodies, and all these things. And I don't really think that we need to put a limit on what we can affirm ourselves to do. I think that there are some things that we can do, of course, that take things a bit too far. Affirmations and speaking life into yourself, I don't think is one of those things.
No, I agree. I think there are choices, right? And choosing to believe in yourself and betting on yourself is never a bad choice.
Right.
I think the issue comes when you refuse to acknowledge your body in this process. Because one of the things that I discovered on this rabbit hole about Mount Everest climbers is that there is a lot of signs along the way that your body is in decline. Like the tallest mountain in the United States, Mount Denali, is in Alaska, and its peak is about where Everest Base Camp is.
Oh, wow.
Going that high comes with clear physical markers of, no, I can't do this anymore.
Mm-hmm. It does.
And I think one of the beautiful things about affirmations, that when it's done right, is that it actually helps you tune into those messages from your body. Yeah. Talk me through how we use these skills to listen.
Again, another great question. The way that we've been taught to do affirmations is one where it feels a bit more disconnected. Um, it is one in which we are typically just saying this affirmation because we want to believe something different. We want to feel something different. And then we just hope that this practice is working somehow, some way, and that we'll see some results from us getting in the mirror and saying things that we may not truly believe about ourselves, but we're hoping to change the way that we believe ourselves to be more aligned with whatever it is that we're saying. The way that I say affirmations is a bit different. I say affirmations that are in such a way that it affirms you differently and it bypasses your inner critic. And also, the entire method, which is 4 steps, I'll talk about that a little later. One of those is for you to notice. And the noticing part I feel is really important. And I think that that's also missing from most affirmations practices, because the notice is that now that you've said this affirmation, it's for you to now check in with yourself. It's for you to scan your body to notice sensations. What are you feeling? Where are you feeling it? Start to describe those sensations in your body. Are you hearing something? Did you notice a particular thought that came up? And that process, or that part of the process, is really about you connecting again with yourself, learning to trust yourself. Doesn't matter what I say, doesn't matter what the self-help guru says, doesn't matter what the instructions are, the book says. You still have to, you're the marker. You still have to discern what is for you. You still have to discern what works for you. You still have to connect with yourself. You get to say, this might have worked for a million people. I checked in with myself. I'm feeling around. It's not feeling good. It's not working for me. And so that, I think, is a part of the process that's often missing, because it's a practice, it's a ritual. There are steps and there are ways that you're meant to be present with doing the practice. And the loss of that presence is where we don't connect enough to say, you know, we're not feeling it. It doesn't resonate with us. So we're going to make a different choice and do something else.
Yes. Listening, I think, is one of the hardest skills we have to learn, right? Whether it's to ourselves, whether it's to other people, being able to truly stop ourselves and hear the information, man, that takes some real work, real practice.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it helps to have a system. So, this is why we are here today.
That's why we're here.
What does that system look like? What are those steps? Walk us through the process.
Okay. So you're talking about the affirmations method I was just mentioning, or okay. The affirmations method that I developed is called the dynamic affirmations method. So damn, because that's cute, I think anyway. It is not just the affirmation that you say, the way that you say it. It is a 4-step process. It takes 10 minutes. The first part of the process is to center. And the reason why you're being centered is it's just a way for you to get present, because you start the process, you're like, oh my God, I put this dress on, it didn't fit. I'm not feeling good about myself. Or I'm worried about this other situation. Or, oh my God, I'm late, the traffic. And you're not real, you're everywhere else but where you're standing in the moment. So the centering part is about getting you to the present moment where you are right now. The second part is the actual affirmation, saying a series of affirmations or one affirmation, whatever it is that you need in the moment to make you feel a bit more self-confident, to make you to feel a bit more powerful, to recognize your beauty, to set the groundwork for making more health and or better health and wellness decisions, to increase your capacity for money, for whatever it is. The second part is to notice, which I mentioned earlier, and that just gives you the space to say, let me check in with myself with how I am feeling, what I noticed in the process of saying these affirmations. So I can say, this affirmation doesn't work for me. I'm not really resonating with that one. Or I've really noticed that I felt some kind of way when I said this one. This one felt really powerful to me. So I'm going to say that one more often. I'm going to get rid of this one and we're going to move on. And the last part is I do energy healing. I'm an energy healing practitioner. In particular, I use the emotional freedom technique, and some people may know it as tapping. So I have a tapping script, which kind of seals in the energy of the affirmations practice that you just went through. So not only the presence, the positive emotions that you're feeling about the things that you said, or the ways that you affirmed yourself, and just kind of get you going, like from that place, like it's all sealed in. So that's my process.
So, obviously, you have a process,
Mm-hmm.
and we have the ability to obtain this process.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and tell us. We'll drop the link in the comments, but
Mm-hmm.
give it to us.
Sure. So you can find the dynamic affirmations. There are actually 5 workbooks. So there's one for health and wellness, one for money, one for self-love and beauty, another one for work life, and there's personal power is the 5th one. I have a Gumroad store, and that's where they can be found. And I'm trying to remember the link. I think it's gumroad.com/Ms. Biba, but I'm going to double check that and get that back to you.
We're gonna have to get you a pretty link, my friend.
I know.
I'm sure Marisa has already yelled at you about this at least
Yes, she
once. So,
has many
so,
times. Don't
so
tell
it's
her.
fine. It's fine. I wanna wrap, like, what does it look like when we are regularly affirming? Like, I think some of this is very easy for people to buy a workbook, read some practices, and
Mhm.
go, okay, that's great. I've done this thing now. I can check this box off on my self development checklist, and I don't need to worry about this thing anymore. How often do you do this practice? What does it look like in terms of your routine? How often are we doing this?
It depends on you. I mean, there are some people who decide that, oh, affirmations is my daily ritual. I got to do these every day in order to get my foot out of the door and hold my head up high. For me, I don't do them every day. I'll do them just when I'm feeling sometimes when I'm feeling a certain kind of way, when I'm noticing that my energy is kind of low. So I'll just start to say some things, just throw together some affirmations that will help me to feel better. I might say them if I have something that I'm getting ready to do where I'm just like, oh, I need a little boost of confidence or something like that. So it might be like I'm coming on a podcast to have a conversation with a bunch of folks, or something like that. So it really depends. I think for some people, doing it consistently, whatever consistency looks like to you. I think that the word consistency or consistent looks like to most people like gotta do it every day. But that's not
Mhm.
what that means. It means that there is a regular day or time that you do it. It doesn't have to be every day, it doesn't have to be every other day. It could be once a week. It all really depends on what you need.
I think one of the key things here is to talk about the practice as a practice,
Mm-hmm.
which means you do it regularly with a beginner's mind, and you attempt to incorporate it as often as you can, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily ritualizing it every day,
Mm-hmm.
which I think can be difficult for people to work with.
Yeah. Yeah, especially when it's not something that you normally do. And I think that, getting back to earlier in the conversation when we were talking about like New Year's resolutions, the problem with them is that normally we're creating these resolutions of things that we don't normally do. We might have done it like a million years ago. We don't do it anymore. And now we've gone from I normally am asleep at this time in the morning to I'm getting up at 4 and 5 o'clock to get in my car to go to the gym every day, which that's quite a leap. So when we're talking about these affirmations, if it's not something that you do every day, you don't necessarily have a practice where you're standing in the mirror or you're going outside and you're talking to yourself, then making it so that you can incorporate it once a week, every other day, on the weekends, in the morning, or something that makes it easy for you to integrate into your life and so that you can continue to do it is what's important. Got to be realistic.
And that's true for both the affirmation practice and the health and wellness practices.
Yeah.
I think that so many of us really get stuck with the all or nothing mentality of it.
Mhm.
And those things, for most of us, just don't work.
Yeah.
We're not gonna, I am never going to wake up at 5 a.m. and start exercising. In my life, that will never happen. That is just not who I am. And I have made my peace with that.
Yes.
What I can do then is incorporate activities that I enjoy when they
Mhm.
feel good,
Mhm.
right? Like what we really want to pay attention to is the language that we use around the process. It's not just the affirmation itself, it's the
Mhm.
self talk. So, talk to us a little bit about how affirmations help us change that conversation.
Affirmations help us to change that conversation because it's really about implanting positive thoughts as opposed to the negative self-talk that we have going on. And what it does is if you say them and you believe them to be true, then it starts to change that negative self-talk. A lot of times, unfortunately, with affirmations, the way that we've been taught to say them, using I am, for example, if they're affirmations that we're not aligned with or that are not true for us, then what ends up happening is you're trying to convince yourself of something that you don't believe to be true. And then the negative self talk gets louder. Or you have that inner critic that's a real douchebag that just comes in and is like, no, you're not beautiful. And let me give you the receipts as to so that you can remember that you're not. And you start to go back in the past to things that have actually happened that have reinforced that for you, and then you come away from the practice feeling sad. You come away feeling disappointed, shame, guilt, all those things. And none of that is going to make you want to continue to do it. You're like, oh, this isn't, this, I hope it's working, but it feels shitty. Right. So it really is about having a regular practice where you are affirming what is true about you. Like, we're human beings, we're amazing, we are capable of so much. Like, there's so much wonder and wonderful things about us as individuals, as human beings, as a species, but we don't often talk to ourselves like that sometimes. And there's so much that's reinforced about us that is negative, unfortunately. But the affirmations are just meant to remind you of what is actually true. You are beautiful, you are amazing, all those other things.
And I want to highlight this comment from Shantae because it's so
Okay.
true. I talk to myself the way that I talk to my children or would want to
Mhm.
be spoken to. For a
Mhm.
lot of us, relearning how to speak to ourselves without the negative language that we grew up with is part of the
Mhm.
work, right?
Yeah.
We have to retrain a lot of ancestral trauma, ancestral patterns,
Mhm.
and none of this is going to happen overnight, y'all. It just won't. So, affirmations then are one of the tools that you get to stick in your box as a way of doing this work. And
Mhm.
I love Biba's work and I love her method. And I think that it is especially helpful to have a guide when it's hard for you and you're stuck. Like, this is the way to do it. Let somebody else who's been there before you hold your hand and take you through.
Mhm.
Okay. What have affirmations meant to you? What have they done for you? Like, what's the glowing success story here at the end of the affirmation journey, Viva?
Do you see me? No, I'm just kidding. Oh goodness, the glowing success story of affirmations for me really have has been an increase in my confidence. That's like the biggest thing that I can say. Like when I first started with affirmations, it was so long ago, like when The Secret came out and everybody's like, law of attraction, woo, a whole party. So I was reading books about it and I was trying it out and I was hoping it was working. I'm standing in the mirror saying these things to myself, and some of the time like it resonated and a lot of the time it didn't. And coming across it differently at this go around after I've done, so much work, but it really is something that it's just bolstered my self-esteem and my confidence in such a way that I can really um that I'm really grateful for, because I know where I started. I know what my childhood was like. I know how I was when I was a teenager. I've always been big. So growing up in the 80s and the 90s, where like my body type is completely different than most people around, it's not accepted. Lane Bryant's the only place I could buy clothes. And so I look like a little lawyer, with the padded shoulders and the suits and things. And I'm like, this
Oh,
is
I
high school.
remember the shoulder pads. They were,
This
man, they were not my friend.
No,
Mm-mm.
no. It's like everybody in high school was wearing this cute stuff, and I look like, Melanie Griffith in Working Girl. Like,
I should
so
laugh, but that is exactly what I felt like. Like, oh,
yes, the
yes.
shoulder pads were not it, but they had them in everything, and everything was so square and so big, and so I grew up feeling like I wasn't beautiful. I grew up feeling like I wasn't valuable, and then when you feel that way about yourself, you make decisions from that place. You see things from that place, and I've had to do so much to get to the point now where I have boundaries. I discern better. I'm intuitive. I listen to myself more. I trust myself in ways that I haven't. And I know that affirmations is just, again, one of the things that I use to bring me back to center when I start to go a little off the rails sometimes, because the work is the work. Like, as long as I'm living, I will continue to do the work. So to your point, it's not anything for anyone that's going to happen overnight. And even though like I can see where I am now, I know there's still more. There's always more. As long as I'm living, there's always going to be more. There's going to be no point where I'm like, oh, work's done, don't have to do it anymore. That's I don't no one has that luxury.
Never, never. All
Yeah.
right, my friend.
Now let's dive in with the shoulder pads.
Right?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
We were too young for those.
We were way too young for those. But I think that what's key here is the internal work reflecting the external work, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's what happens here and what makes it actually work for you. That
Right.
we're making our internal landscape we're making it over before we're making over the external landscape.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, that has to happen, or the external work will not be permanent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we will find and drop a link for you. I'd like to leave us with final thoughts. What about affirmations for health and wellness have been most important for you?
Affirmations for health and wellness. Let's see, what has been most important? Most important is that is the belief in what's possible. It is the acceptance. I think that's probably the biggest thing that they've helped me to do. Like when you're a certain size or a certain way, or you look different and so on and so forth, or you don't do the same things as everybody does, then you see other people and you want it. And then what you have is not good enough. And when you don't feel like it's good enough, there are things that you end up doing to compensate for that, which take up a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of space in your life. It's just, it's taxing, it's exhausting, it's stressful. We can go down the road. But health and wellness affirmations for me have really helped me to be more accepting of myself. I'm not fighting against what is, because what is what is. You know, I'm not fighting against what is shifting and changing about my body as I'm getting older, because it is. And I don't need to spend time wasting time toiling about what it used to be, what I wished it was, all these other things, because I have other things to focus on. So that's probably been like the biggest thing for me, the acceptance, really, honestly.
And I think it just develops and grows from there, right?
Mm-hmm.
It starts with acceptance, and then we get to move on into bigger and better things.
Yes, we do.
So, next time, what are we talking about?
Next time, we are talking about personal power. So that's more
Mm,
about the confidence, your solar plexus, your power center, all that juicy stuff.
Amy Cuddy's power poses.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They work, though.
They do work.
They do work.
They do work.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining us. I will have links everywhere. You can find us at neurodiversitymedianetwork.com. You can subscribe to our members only podcasts. Very excited about it. And we will see you back here with us in 2 weeks to talk about personal power. It's going to be great. I'm very excited. Thank y'all so much for being here. Have an amazing day.
Thank you. Bye.